Hi, I'm Jim Sturgis. I run Pioneer Institute, a Boston-based think tank. In our 25-year history, Pioneer has been associated with all of the key reforms that have taken Massachusetts from an above-average state in education to the top performer in the country. And importantly, we're in the top 6 countries in math and science on international assessments. The reforms that we advanced were lots of parental choice, including the highest performing public charter schools in the country, accountability for teachers and also for students, and finally the highest quality academic standards in the country. We care deeply about our kids. We care deeply about our country's future. We want to make sure that our kids can be internationally competitive, but we also care about the content of their character. That is, we want them to be able to function in a republic that is characterized by strong local, state, and federal institutions. We're engaged in a debate that will have impacts for generations to come. That debate is about Common Core, an effort that is represented by its proponents as being state-led, as being aligned with federal statutes, as not causing unfunded mandates, as being academically ambitious, and really good for school choice. Unfortunately, each of those assertions is false. We know. Pioneer Institute has commissioned the most research on Common Core in the country, multiple peer-reviewed academic papers. We've commissioned the very best experts in the country to take a deep look at these issues. I want to share some of what they have told us with you. In a previous video, we talked a little bit about the federal-state relationships. In this video, I'd like to focus really on 2 things. One is the quality, the mediocre quality of Common Core, and second, the impact on parental choice in America. Proponents of Common Core like to wax whimsical about the transformational impacts that Common Core will have on our classrooms and on student learning. Nothing could be further from the truth. The fact is that Common Core, by any objective analysis, is a mediocre set of standards. Pioneer Institute conducted 4 independent evaluations of the Common Core against states that were known to have relatively high academic standards. In each case, Common Core came out lacking. On the English language arts side, reading and writing, what we found was there were lots of technical issues around grade-by-grade progressions, that is, appropriate material and appropriate grades. But the troubles on the English language arts side are much deeper than that. They're about things like these were never internationally benchmarked. There's no research basis for Common Core standards. And Sandra Stotsky, who sat on the validation committee for Common Core, has written that her own research on English language speaking countries and the kinds of literary and language requirements they put forward for their children are much higher than those expectations set forth in Common Core. There are in fact deeper problems with Common Core on the reading and English side. In Massachusetts, our remarkable rise vis-a-vis other states is premised on a laser focus on literature and poetry. We have seen that a focus on these 2 areas, especially in the K through 8 grades, allows for kids to acquire a deeper and broader, a richer vocabulary more quickly. It is in the reading between the lines that kids learn about meaning. It's not from a textbook. It's not from nonfiction, non-literary reading. But in fact, Common Core focuses especially on that. That is, there's much more non-literary, nonfiction reading for kids in early grades. In fact, that is the reason why Sandra Stotsky and other members of the validation committee declined to sign off on the standards and stepped down from the validation committee. In Stotsky's case, having developed the highest quality academic standards in Massachusetts, she was unwilling to sign off on lower quality standards for the rest of the country. And Common Core, frankly, is unworkable given the talent that we have in our schools. What I mean by that specifically is this. The English language arts standards will require that English teachers now begin to teach federal bank reports, computer and other manuals. That is not what got an English teacher into the business of teaching in the first place. It was a love of language. It was a love of literature. And on the math side, Common Core fares no better. And just as was the case with English language arts, there are all kinds of technical problems in terms of grade-by-grade progressions. But there are also deeper problems. Algebra 1, which is taught in many states in 8th grade, gets pushed back to 9th and 10th grade. The geometry that is part of Common Core incorporates an experimental approach to teaching the subject, and frankly, that experimental approach has never been used successfully in Western Europe or in North America at the high school level. And finally, for states that were fairly ambitious like Massachusetts and California, Indiana, who sought to make sure that kids were exposed to lots of trigonometry and pre-calculus, there's a little bit of trig, there's no pre-calculus in Common Core. For an effort that supposedly is getting our kids ready for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math-related professions, this can hardly be a step forward. As James Milgram, who also sat on the validation committee, was the only academic mathematician on that committee, and who stepped off the validation committee, as he has said, Common Core will leave our kids behind by 1 grade by 5th grade. And by 7th grade, they'll be 2 years behind our international competitors. As the lead writer of Common Core himself, Jason Zimba, has said at a Massachusetts Board of Education meeting, when asked what college readiness meant in math, he responded, well, it means that kids will be ready for a non-selective community college or state college. Now, there are folks out there who will say, proponents of Common Core, well, you know, states have lots of flexibility. They can add 15% new content to the Common Core standards. Folks, that is meaningless. 85% of your state standards will have to be taken verbatim from Common Core. And the national tests will only test the materials that are part of Common Core, not the state add-ons. As a result, it will not be tested, and ultimately it will not be taught in the classroom. In recent years, many states have made great strides in providing parents more choice for their children, especially when those parents have very limited access to good schools. Parental choice is about allowing parents to select the best learning environment for their children. I'm a great supporter of market-based reforms and lots of school choice. And I am deeply concerned that Common Core encroaches on some of the key decisions that those schools, those private schools, will make as regards curricula and instruction. It's worth stepping back and recognizing the unique approach that America takes to school choice. When we fund school choice, we essentially fund parental choice. That is very unlike Europe. European systems that allow for school choice fund the private institutions directly. And as a result, what they do is they set upon those institutions requirements around testing, instruction, and curricula. In America, that's not been the case to date. I fear that Common Core will allow for, and in fact drive, that very outcome here as well. We've seen a trend, for example, in Indiana, Ohio, and Louisiana, states where there are voucher programs and tax credit programs to give parents more choices, that set upon the schools the requirement that they administer state-based tests. Essentially, the flow of money through the parents is now tied to the administration of tests. That is worrisome because Common Core tests are not the same as the traditional norm reference tests we've seen in these schools for years. Norm reference tests are designed to be curriculum neutral, not to have some sort of definition based upon the curricular choice or the instructional choices made in a school. Common Core aligned tests are in fact designed to drive curricular choices and therefore will impact the very instruction that we see in the schools. I'd ask you, what does choice mean when all roads lead back to Common Core? We have made great progress in advancing school choice around the country. We cannot now lose autonomy over critical decisions over curriculum and instruction. Many states, such as Massachusetts, have shown impressive gains over the past couple of decades in student performance. Successful states have each carved out a path that was wholly their own. sometimes focusing on high-quality academic standards, other times testing vehicles, accountability for teachers, certification, public charter schools, and even school choice. The federal government has no such record of success. So why would states give up their ability to innovate and to aim for the very best for their children in exchange for mediocre standards? Community college readiness is such a grand goal for the country, a goal that is worthy of jettisoning our commitment to the rule of law, assuming unfunded mandates, and giving up control over key decisions related to the school choice and the education reforms that we have so valiantly fought for. American parents and educators can do better. Join us at Pioneer Institute. Sign up for updates on the fight against Common Core. Find ways to connect with other citizens, educators, and parents who want to work together to get the job done.